Welcome everyone to another episode of the Definitive Crusade. I am your host, joining the machine, Hughes. This time around, we're joined with random dude Josh. Josh, how goes it?
It goes. I'm upset I lost my bet with Bud, and so now I have to go find a cheap Chinese replica of the Patriots Super Bowl ring that I have to wear and post. But, that's what I get for making a bet that I really should not have made.
Well, you console yourself with the Mutant Football League win.
That's true. The 50-0. Yeah. I don't feel bad for Al. I don't feel bad.
I watched the first couple of plays, and when your guy came around, the end came around to sack the quarterback, I thought he was going to get nailed here, and the guy managed to get away from you, and then he just put this ball up. I was like, oh man, that's going to get picked. No worries. That's just like a bad throw. That was obviously a panic throw, that one, and boof, intercepted. I was like, oh, I'm not going to watch any more of this. I know where this is going. I think at which point you were 7-0 up at that. I was like, oh. No,
and what's funny about that game was we had done a test game earlier that day just to make sure everything was good. And I kick off the ball, and Al, I don't know where he was at. He wasn't paying attention. But the ball bounces into the end zone but doesn't roll out of bounds. And in that game, football. It becomes a live ball. So I'm running because obviously the whistle hasn't blown. So
it's live, man.
I run, I get the ball, and I end up scoring a touchdown. And Al loses his shit. What happened? How did you score? And I'm like, you got to go for the ball. Duh.
Yeah, kickoff's alive. It's punts that are dead.
Yeah.
Kickoff's alive. That's that's as commonplace as 1st and 10, Come on.
Yeah. All right. It was fun, though.
Good. It looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've got to say. Because of the Dolphins, and we suck. And do you know what I feel really bad for? I feel bad for the defensive coordinator for the Patriots. Because obviously he's an up-and-coming coach. He's done really well, won a Super Bowl, shut down the Rams, and now he's going to go and destroy his career by trying to coach the Dolphins. Sucker.
Well, maybe he probably should have had a conversation with Josh McDaniels. And Josh at that point should have said, don't do it. Don't do it. But I'm sure listeners are hearing this going, are we listening to a comics podcast or a football podcast?
Well, that's the reason we can talk football is that it's just us two.
It's true.
It's just us two. We have Tracy over in sunny Malta, catching some solar energy to recharge her Supergirl-like batteries. And Freyja is in the middle of a relocation.
Middle of relocation, and she's pissed at the audio guy, so she didn't want to deal with his shenanigans.
Yeah, that audio guy, man.
Oh, man. If you guys ever have a chance to meet the audio guy, pass on that. I mean,
if I have to have words with the audio guy one more time, I will be very, very annoyed.
Well, if it wasn't for the audio guy, we'd have to do it ourselves.
I did. All right, okay. Back to the books. It's been an odd week in DC land. News broke, I think, earlier this weekend that Doomsday 9 has been delayed, pushing it back to the 27th of February. It was supposed to be out sometime in January, so it's now 5 weeks late, with the next issue scheduled to come out in March. So
I'm not surprised by this. I'm really not.
I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed. I've got to be honest, because I thought I'm enjoying the Doomsday Clock when I read it, but when you see how well Heroes, whether you like the story or not, but you can see how regular their releases are, so you don't lose traction in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Doomsday Clock seems to have been going on for like, it's supposed to be like 10 years past the Watchmen or whatever. It feels like it's been going on 10 years. It's dragging. It's dragging to say the least.
And that just means the momentum will be dragging too.
Yeah,
and they're not going to get the sales they're looking for. So it's unfortunate because it was a good concept. Poor execution.
And it befuddles me because they tried with the Before Watchmen series that was a weekly book, and they were doing that every week, which is kind of like a precursor to the idea that they're doing fortnightly books. And that was fine. That worked fine. And you can turn around and say, well, they're not the artists of Gary Frank's talent, but there were some pretty big names on those books that were coming out on a weekly schedule and hitting them. Yeah. And they had to be concurrent because there was several series a week coming out. So, I don't know. I'm just really disappointed.
As long as Heroes in Crisis continues their momentum, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
If that one starts pulling a doomsday clock, then I'm going to be upset.
There's a couple of one-shots coming out soon with Heroes, which might dilute things a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, the main thrust of the story has been Kenny, so cool. Yeah. So, this week we've got a new number one. Ooh. We have the continuation of The Batman Who Laughs. I'm going to take a look at a couple of super books. All right, so we'll start it off with the newest Wonder comic. And I'll say this about Wonder Comics: with the fact that Heroes, the new age of Heroes, has failed abysmally. How long is it till Wonder Comics goes the same way? No idea. But we have the much loathed, the much despised, and the much, oh my God, why are they even doing this? We have the Wonder Twins, number one, written by Mark Russell, art by Stephen Byrne, and letters by David Sharp. I've got to say right off the bat, over here in the UK, we didn't have Super Friends, so I have no idea really who these people are. So, Josh, it's on you, man. What's this book? Who are the Wonder Twins?
So, I like how you described the Wonder Twins as really good, really bad, or oh my God, why are they doing this? Because when you described it as oh my God, why are they doing this? That was my thought of oh my God, why are you making me read this?
Right. Okay. So let's rewind. Let me give you some logic to this. For so long, Freyja has been making me read Red Hood and the Outlaw, or Red Hood the Outlaw, or whichever Red Hood book it is, and she knows I hate Red Hood. And then on the flip, Tracy's been making me read Constantine stuff and crap that I hate. So this was my kickback to sort of say, right, enough's enough. Lines drawn in the sand. You're making me read crap. Here's what I'm making you read. Boom. And then, of course, this is a show that they dropped.
Yeah. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. You know what? Just for this, I'm going to make both of them read American Carnage. I don't give a shit. Now, I will say this about Wonder Twins. I like the style of this book. The Wonder Twins they're one of those characters that, so when Super Friends came out, it was to appeal to the kids. To kind of have that connection with these older superheroes. As I was reading this, it felt like a teenage drama. One of those type of shows that, like a Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill.
Have you read my notes? That's exactly what I've put. It's like Dawson's Creek without humongously long words.
Yeah. And even the art style maintained that. It wasn't dark and gritty. It was definitely a lighter tone book, which on the one side, I appreciated it because they were able to capture, who the Wonder Twins are. I mean, the story was very teenage in that respect. I mean, this would be one that I would totally be fine with my kids reading. It is that age-appropriate book. It's not going to be that high on my pull list. to be honest. I did like the use of the supercomputer. And I thought that was rather genius on how they used the supercomputer against Mixoplick.
I thought it was really quite simple, yeah.
It was, and it kind of made me laugh going, why didn't Superman or Batman ever think about doing that? But,
yeah.
the artwork was actually really well done in this. The colors were used very well in this book. So I can't totally shit on it as far as a bad book. It's just not my cup of tea.
Okay, that's a fair assessment. All right, so as I said, I didn't get Super Friends over here, so I have no idea who these characters are, other than, even though we didn't have the cartoon, I could still feel a hate about them. People dislike these characters immensely. I remember when they were on Smallville. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought the book was really funny. I thought it had some really good, cleverly thought out pieces. So when they explain to the twins what the supercomputer was for, and it's like all the Justice League turn up to catch a guy that was like just robbing the bank, or they send Black Lightning out to the ocean to rescue a ship.
That was funny.
That sort of stuff kind of made me smile a little bit. You're absolutely right. It does feel like Dawson's Creek, or maybe Glee, but without the singing and the dancing, which is good. I thought the art was almost comic strip style, like newspaper styles.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the art and the way the Superman and the Wonder Woman and Batman characters were kind of set, it was like an extrapolation of their key dynamics. It was just taken to like the nth degree to make them accessible to kids. Like Superman's always trying to do the right thing, Batman's always grumpy, and that sort of stuff. It kind of read like a comic strip characters rather than the heroes that we know. You're right. It's not aimed at me. It's not aimed at you. Would I let my kids read it if they wanted to? If they were under 10, yeah. And I think this book works brilliantly for that. The story is high skill. It's what you have to put up with and stuff, which is fine. But yeah, I thought it is what it is. I think this is the idea of the Wonder Comics, isn't it? To give it to try and draw in new readers. I just don't think it's a great idea, but why use characters that are so disliked to do that? That would be my issue.
I think DC's looking at it, and I may be completely wrong in this, but it's an opportunity to almost humanize the Wonder Twins, and where comics are kind of making a shift to try and attract more readers, it's possible to get people hooked on the Wonder Twins as, for lack of a better word, a gateway drug.
Okay. Bit of a loss leader.
Yeah. I mean, they've tried with other heroes and it's a hit or miss. The Wonder Twins, it has a chance. I'm not going to hold my breath, but it has a chance.
Okay. Cool. Excellent. Okay, so next one up, we're back to a little bit of reality, albeit Batman style. Batman Who Laughs, number 3, written by Scott Snyder, art by Jock, colours by Dave Barron, and letters by Sal. Is it Cipriano, or would you say Cipriano?
Cipriano? Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows? All right. Okay. Cool. So, halfway through, it's a 6-issue miniseries. Josh, what's happening?
This book, if you guys haven't been following along, this is a dark and gritty book. Just the way we like our Batman, dark and gritty. This book definitely focused a lot on the relationship between Jim Gordon and his son James. And this is one of those stories and one of those relationships that really hasn't been focused on, really since Jim Gordon. I will admit, if you guys haven't read this, you are going to be a little confused when there's multiple Batmans in the book. I'm just going to let you know right now.
That's a fair shout. That is a fair shout.
But I mean, this book takes a twist that I don't want to spoil it, and I'm not going to. But it is a what the moment that I wasn't anticipating. I mean, I was, but I wasn't, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Just for a gritty book like this, I like how gritty the artwork is. It matches the tone of the story. It's not one of those like well polished, every panel looks like they spent a whole shit ton of time on it. And normally I'm very critical of those panels, but with this book it works. I did like seeing Penguin in the book.
Yeah, Penguin's getting some love at the moment, isn't he? Because he's in the Catwoman book at the same recently as well. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that was cool to see, but the action in this is dark and gritty. You know, as I've said before, you're going to enjoy it. The Batman Who Laughs is a great character, and I like what Scott Snyder has done with this so far. So it's keeping me interested, and that's impressive considering we're halfway through this miniseries.
Okay, cool. Well, I am absolutely at the other end of the scale on this one. Yeah, it's Batman, it's dark and gritty. Totally get that. But and it's fun for a while. But it seems to me a little bit that Scott Snyder, who in the past I have said loves a setup more than the payoff, you know, he loves to set things up and then the payoff does tend to be a little bit wary. I think as you said, we're not spoiling anything, but the thing you're talking about, you expected it, everyone expects it, so it's kind of really that's where we're going with this. I think that Snyder, to some extent, feels reading this book like he's saying to DC, these are my characters in Jimmy Gordon and the Batman Who Laughs, and I'm going to use them regardless. You know, bearing in mind that Snyder and Jock were on Detective Comics with the Black Mirror story, which reintroduced Jimmy Gordon as a psychopath in the first place, back before New 52, in fact. Mm-hmm. So we're talking a good. Well, how long is this? This is like issue 63 of Batman, so that's 36. So you know that's a good 6 years or so ago. Mm-hmm. And it just seems to me that the books, it feels like it's trying too hard. I'm not a big fan of multiple Batmans in the idea. The Batman Who Laughs isn't a character that interests me. It looks like Judge Death, which mm-hmm. I've said a million times. So I'm kind of a bit nonplussed by the whole thing. It's one of those stories, I think, that even though it's been born out of the Justice League book, where Batman Who Laughs has been in it, I don't see there being any real ramifications in this. I think if we're going to do something like this, I'd rather you prestige it up and really go to town on it. The art by Jock is normally really, really good and really works. I get that he's going for that dark edge and everything's not as polished as you'd expect, but even that seems a little bit, I don't know. I'm going to say crayon-esque, and people are going to hate me for it, and that's fine. They can hate me. There's nothing really in the book that really makes me go, wow. And I'll say this, while we talk about Snyder, I caught up on some of my Justice League stuff that over today, and bearing in mind that I've said in the past that I thought his Justice League was going nowhere, he's actually pulled that out of the bag. I'm absolutely how he's dealt with Thanagar and Thanagar Prime, really well done. Hats off. So this isn't me hating on Snyder. This is me not liking this book.
Fair enough.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think, given what he's done with Justice League, that there's a chance that when they wrap this miniseries up, which I'm glad that they're only doing it as a miniseries, that he has a chance to flip a 180 in your mind?
No, and I can't really give you the reason for that, because for me to do that, I'm going to have to spoil something, and I don't really want to spoil it.
Fair enough. So we'll wait until the end, and then do a culmination review.
Yeah, ask me next time when people's had a chance to read this book.
Okay.
But I think down the line there will be something that goes on that makes me go, and I'm not going into any more detail because I don't want to spoil it for people. If people have been enjoying this book, that's cool. That's your bag. Feel free to enjoy it. Josh, you love this book. That's great. I don't want to take away someone's fun from reading this book. If it's your cup of tea, if it's in your ballpark, enjoy it, love it, go for it. All right.
If there's anything I've learned from being a part of this show, is I'm going to love my books no matter how much you shit on them.
I'm going to love my books regardless of what the machine says.
Yeah.
That's great. Good to know that on a podcast nobody listens. That's not what we're aiming for. Thank you. Woo! Point well made. All right, okay. So we've gone Wonderific. We've touched base with Gotham. Seems fair we only go back to the other staple of the DC universe and go all super on us. Big fan of this book for a number of months now, and that's Supergirl. This is Supergirl number 27. So it's written by Mark Andreyko with art by Eduardo Pansica, inks by Julio Ferreira, colors by the always fantastic FCO Placencia, and letters by Tom Napolitano. And I swear to God, if people are making these names up, it's like you're just doing it to piss me off. If it's your real name and I've said it wrong, yeah, I'm British. I'm going. That's my excuse. All right, cool. Josh, you've been reading Supergirl for a while, or is this kind of like a little bit of curveball for yourself?
This is definitely kind of a curveball. I've never really been a big Supergirl fan. I think the only Supergirl story I enjoyed was Injustice 2.
All right, okay, cool. Which is a game I've recently re-downloaded. So for those who haven't been reading the Supergirl book, let me give you a quick recap. Ragul Zor came around and he started looking for Superman because he's out to kill all of Krypton. Superman managed to defeat him by hiding him in the Phantom Zone, and things went a bit south with that. Supergirl took it upon herself to head into space to find out why was Krypton destroyed, and that's kind of where we are. We're in the middle of that quest, if that gives you a bit of a scope of what the overreaching arc is. Hopefully that makes some sense of what we read.
Yeah, it does actually. The artwork in this, I enjoyed it. The story,
I think you've got in on the wrong issue, because I really enjoy this book. This book is just the battle issue. You know what I'm saying? This is the climax fight. Everything else has been building up to this. So if you're picking this book up for the first time, you're like, okay, there's Supergirl, there's Krypto. Wait, who's that? Who's these? Who's the Omega Men? There is a lot of stuff going on in this issue, But if you've been reading it for the last 4 or 5 issues, it's like a conclusion piece
Okay.
rather than ongoing.
And that makes sense. That
Cool.
actually makes a lot more sense now.
I'm always here to help.
Well, I appreciate that. What would I do without you? I'd be looking at this book going, this is shit.
Fair enough. Just call me the context man.
For action, you're definitely going to get that in this book. And I'm happy to see that we don't have 9-panel pages.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you! Yay!
So, I guess understanding it now, I'll go back and read the previous issues to get up to speed.
Okay. Super speed. Okay. So I'm enjoying this run. I think Mark Entreco's done really well. He's got a long game planned, but he's keeping us interested with these little little stops along the way. I love seeing Crypto. Crypto's always cool. And even though it's a battle issue, and there's a lot of fighting going on, we still get to see the things that make Kara super. And spoiler alert, it's got nothing to do with the powers. All right. So I think that's fun. I think that's always good. I like the fact that with her being out in space, she's becoming her own character. She might wear the S shield, but too many times I think when she's stuck on Earth, it's always like Superman's just around the corner. So if she gets into trouble, she can "Oi, Soups, get here," and that's what kind of can sometimes happen. I like the fact that she's off doing her own thing. The art by Eduardo Pacinca is certainly Kevin Maguire-like. Kevin Maguire's been spending some time on this book to give it some clean lines and some. I'm not going to say photo reference stuff, but it has that sort of not overly detailed art. So it looks like Pacinca's trying to follow that mold. And I tell you what, for all that DC are putting out right now, when you've got Bats being super dark, and you've got the Batman Who Laughs, and you've got Titans, and you've got the Justice League books, I am just pleased to read a book where I don't have to hear about the bloody source wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is a totally different thing. I suppose, in fairness, there's only probably this and Batman and Detective that don't talk about the source wall. Every other book, it seems like, oh, we've got to do this, and oh, the source wall's giving people powers, and oh, source wall's meant that magic's going away and coming back. Oh, the source wall means that the ghost planet, ghost sector, it's like, for Christ's sakes, we get it already. Stop ramming it down our throats. So this book tends to take a step away from that, which I've got to be honest, I like that. I like that as a breath of fresh air for me personally. Colors work. FCO Placencia. Oh, I've got it wrong. I got it right first time. I think it's bright. It's vivid. It's kind of what you want from a Supergirl comic. I recently picked up a Supergirl trade, which was the Jeff Loeb and Ian Churchill run from a few years back. So I'm going through a bit of a Supergirl. I'm not going to say fetish because there's no fishnets in it, but I'm going through a bit of a Supergirl moment right now.
But you're going through a Supergirl phase.
Oh, is that the term? Right.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Supergirl. I agree with you in that having her not be on Earth, as you said, she's coming into her own and not having to be stuck in the shadow of Kal-El. It really does allow her to become her own person, her own hero in that respect. Which I think that's, we look at the TV show, that's what they were trying to do. And then, of course, They reverted back and brought Superman into it. So I'm hoping, at least for this run, they don't do that and just keep it as this is Supergirl's world.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because when this book started off, when it was under Supergirl Rebirth, they had us with the DEO and doing all this stuff, which was an obvious nod, tie-in, whatever, to the TV show, and it just didn't work. And you think to yourself, why do I need to read a book about, Arrow for Green Arrow and Arrow are two different things. They don't need to continually ape each other.
Yeah.
Although I'd still love the fact that Diggle in Arrow is named after Andy Diggle, the British comic book writer, who then was inspired a character in a TV show, who's inspired a character in a comic book. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, what? Mind blown.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Krypton.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Right. Talking of Krypton, we've said his name. We've said his name a couple of times. Kal-El, you say it 3 times, he appears. So we might as well talk about Superman. Superman #8, written by Brian Michael Bendis, with art by, in some parts, Ivan Reis, and in other parts, Brandon Peterson. Inks are by Joe Prado, colours are by the fantastic Alex Sinclair, and letters are by Josh Reed. There you go. Josh, this was one of your choices, so it's on you, man. Take it away.
I love this book. The idea of John Kent learning more about his lineage and his little excursion away from Earth. They've done a really good job as far as capturing 2 different worlds into one story. And here you have, the son of Superman, the son of Lois and Clark, learning who he really is and really coming to know that, holy hell, the universe is a big place.
Yeah.
And just seeing the struggle that he's having as he's learning all of this, I thought was very well done. They were able to capture kind of what a teenager goes through as they're growing up in their world. Obviously, in this scenario, his world is a very big place.
It is.
And it was really well done, especially for it being a very dialogue-heavy book. But it was a necessary dialogue.
Do you think Bendis writes dialogue heavy, or is it just this book?
I think he does write a little dialogue heavy. For books that there is a lot of talking, there's a fine line in where it's either the right amount or it's too much. And I think this book is right in that little gray area that it's just the right amount, but not too much. It gets a little close at times, but this is one of those necessary conversations for the character.
Okay. I can totally buy into that. I think the book isn't as action orientated as Supergirl, at least not this time around. And I think definitely there are a number of conversations that go on. So you want the conversations to have meaning and to have ramifications. So yeah, there is going to be a lot of dialogue to deal with. What were your thoughts on the art?
I really liked it. It was very clean. As far as, the way they put it together, we also didn't get any weird body parts or limbs looking the way that would cause Freyja to have an aneurysm. I thought it was really well done.
Okay.
So,
cool.
And I know I said I wouldn't, because that storyline with the crime syndicate, I I thought they were awesome, with
Mm-hmm.
Crisis on Infinite Earths. So now that we're kind of venturing into that, I'm excited to see where they take it, especially with having Owlman in there. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about you, but when I read any of his lines, I'm going to have James Wood's voice in my head.
Indeed. James Woods, of course, was Owlman in the Crisis on Two Earths animated movie, right?
Yeah, the animated movie, which was that was a phenomenal animated movie.
Agreed. Totally agreed. Some really good actors in there. Really good.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, with all the pump and bluster that came with Bendis on Superbooks, other than the first couple, I don't think I've read a lot of it. Um, I'm a little bit disappointed in a couple of things. The aging of Jonathan, for example. I like Jonathan and Damien together, and I really feel a little bit disappointed that if he stays at 17, he's not going to be able to do that. Do you think that Jonathan's actually aged the years, or do you think it's like a young kid in a teenage body?
Yes. um,
Because here's my thinking. Here's my thinking. If they're keeping him as a young kid in a teenage body, doesn't DC already have one of those in Captain Marvel stroke Shazam? And if that's the case, do you not find it ironic that at face value it appears that DC are copying the characteristics of a hero that they once sued out of existence because he was too much like Superman?
well, I see where you're going with that. But
I rest my case.
here's my thing though, because Shazam is that's like, yeah, there's similarities to Superman, but there's not. With Jonathan Kent, there is a direct connection with Clark and with
True.
Lois. And so not only is he having to deal with trying to understand who he is in this universe, but even more than what Supergirl has to deal with is he really is living in the shadow of the Man of Steel. And we've seen the conflict that the Robins have living in the shadow of the Bat. Between Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and now Damian Wayne. We've seen the conflict that they have. It's nice to kind of see that same sort of conflict in the world of Superman, but it's even more than what Damian has to deal with. Because Damian can use the excuse that he was trained by Talia and Ra's al Ghul. Jonathan doesn't necessarily have that excuse because he's not the love child of Superman and Wonder Woman. He is the son of Lois and Clark.
Okay, that's good. It's a good definition for all those Robins that are all angsty about being like in Batman's shadow. This is the reason why Steph Brown is the best Robin. Just saying. Well, you can't.
I can't argue with that. That's why I said what I did.
Okay. All right. Okay. The art worked in places, it didn't work in others. I prefer Ivan Reis over Brandon Peterson. Sorry. Is that the Legion of Superheroes he was fighting with?
It looked like it.
Didn't it? I think it kind of did give it like a little bit of a look. And I did enjoy the Irissa and Kilowog dialogue a lot. I thought that was good fun. Especially, are we in which sector are we in? Is this 281? Is this no? It's just the whole idea of these like cops kind of just not knowing where they are just kind of tickled me a little bit.
Yeah.
It's funny because and this happens a lot though. the Kilowog that's on in this book seems dramatically removed from the Kilowog that was in Justice League, where he tried to arrest Jon Stewart. You know, it's like it's kind of. I just wish people could be a little bit more consistent. I think at his best, Brian Michael Bendis does really well to humanize Superman, and I think his reaction to having lost those years with John is a totally human reaction. And I think that's what I like about Superman is when he's given human problems to resolve, not superhero problems to resolve. You know, it's kind of like the same thing with Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Once he puts on the mask, you know he's going to win, but Peter Parker's always going to have problems.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good little read. It's probably not going to make me rush out and buy it, mainly because I buy too much other stuff already. But I like to see that Bendis is certainly giving, as I say, some humanity to the Man of Steel, rather than just giving him sort of big villains to fight. Although that said, why was Mogul there? There's no rhyme or reason. It just so happens he's there. Great.
Yeah.
Didn't he pull that trick when he went off into space just to bite up some Dominators?
Who knows? I don't even know. I do agree that I like the struggle that Superman has. Now, given the inner monologue that Superman does have, do you think that this creates a resentment towards his father that's going to carry on for the next little bit?
I think there's a shed load of resentment between him and his father. I think his father thinks that Clark or Kal-El should be more grateful because Jor-El actually saved him from the destruction of Krypton. Why? Of course he should be grateful to him. But then Kal-El's all like kind of, he's already got parents, he doesn't need somebody else. He's got Jonathan and Martha. So I think anytime a family member, whether it be grandmothers, grandfathers, or whatever, get in the way of a mum or a dad raising their kid, I definitely think there's resentment anyway. I mean, it's crazy, but when you take a kid home, you go to the hospital, have the kid, everything's great. You get home, and the first thing your mum does, it'll say, "Oh, well, you don't want to do this. You want to do this." And you're like, "Whoa, hold on a second, my kid." I think I know how to change your nappy. Oh no, sorry, diaper. And it's kind of like that overbearingness that I think can cause problems down the line. And Bendis is clearly working on the emotional side of Superman, not just the power level. So yeah, I agree. I think there might be some resentment down the line.
I would like to even see that kind of
played out.
Yeah, let it play out and create this story, but that puts Jonathan Kent to having to decide who would he rather follow in their footsteps, Jor-El or Clark?
I've got to be honest. I thought at some point we were going to go down the whole Jonathan of him being kind of not purebred Kryptonian. I thought that would have raised more of an issue than it actually did down the line. And before everyone gets on that case, don't worry, he's not the only hero that's a half-breed. Aquaman. Oh, come on. You know what I'm saying? Before anyone, sends me loads of hate mail. But no, I think, it'd be interesting to see. Maybe this is the thing that pushes them to the 30th century to get away from it all.
Maybe.
And brings back Legion down the line. Not that DC, if you do that, it's trademark joining Machine Hughes. Just saying. You're missing money.
Send royalty checks. You know how to contact us.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, I'm the one that bitches about Detective Comics all the time.
Really? I had no idea. 997.
I'm not saying anything more than that. Thanks, Steve. I'll get sued if I keep talking about stuff. All right, excellent. Okay, so that kind of wraps up from a comic book point of view perspective. I will say that I saw Aquaman the movie today. Have you seen Aquaman?
I did. Yep, I saw it in theaters.
What do you think?
I liked it. There were some continuity issues. Actually, one major one that I had when Aquaman, when Arthur's asking Mera who she is,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like,
Didn't you already meet Justice League?
she just said you're the one who defeated Steppenwolf. You talked to her to get armor to go beat Steppenwolf. Like, the hell? Did you have one too many drinks that you blacked out?
I'm
Like,
sorry if a gorgeous redhead talks to me. I do not forget.
I'm like, exactly. Redheads, gotta love them. That was probably my biggest issue with the movie. Aside from that, I know people were bitching that, oh, the writing was bad, blah, blah. No, it was good. It was great. I mean, it reached $1 billion.
So it's got to have something, right?
Exactly. I love the reference to Aquaman riding on the seahorse.
Yeah, I like that bit.
It took that GIF that we all hate and shit on and made it cool.
The talking to the fishes bit at the start for me was really impressive. It kind of lost its way, I thought, middle third. And you're absolutely right about the continuity. Halfway through the film, even though they mentioned Steppenwolf, I could not place it. Was this up to that point? I did not know, is this supposed to be after or before Justice League? And then they mentioned, oh, you defeated Steppenwolf. I was like, oh, okay, so it's supposed to be after Justice League. Which kind of took me a while to get a head around. But yeah, it was all right. It wasn't a wow movie. That was great.
Yeah.
Part of this is, I think, me. I'm getting a little bit jaded with superhero movies.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of overkill.
Well, Hollywood can't come up with original ideas, so they have to turn to comic books.
And annoyingly, when they do that, it's all CGI.
Yeah. I understand for this movie, it had to be.
Yeah.
The one thing with, I guess the other aspect with Aquaman that Black Manta was, they could have waited and introduced him as like in a post, like mid-credit scene leave that to a whole separate. I feel like he was just put in just to be put in, where the basis of the movie was not about Black Manta. I will admit, I loved Willem Dafoe's character.
Yeah,
his performance was great. But Willem Dafoe is great at all. I mean, he made Norman Osborn look cool. I would love to see him as Joker.
Yes, definitely.
I think he provides the level of insanity to really make Joker absolutely terrifying. Although I'm going to wait to see what Joaquin Phoenix does in the standalone movie.
Mrs. H has a thing about Joaquin Phoenix.
So a good thing or a...
No, a thing.
A thing.
A thing. He was great and We Own the Night. Okay, whatever.
I enjoyed his performance in Gladiator, especially the part when Jor-El, to see Jor-El kill the Joker. I mean, that was cool. People listening to this are going to be like, Jor-El killed the Joker? What? Go watch Gladiator. It'll make sense.
I am Maximus. Rebellious.
I enjoy
whatever it is.
I know. Yeah, Jor-El had to defend the honor of Albus Dumbledore by killing the Joker. I can't believe I just made that connection. See, this is what happens when the Patriots win and Thanos Brady gets his 6th ring to create the Patriots gauntlet.
Well, as long as someone clicks his fingers and he disappears, I'll be all right. And on that note, not that I'm a bitter Dolphins fan, that's the end of the episode this week. Join us next fortnight, when we'll be back with a full crew. We'll talk about all the books that are out by that time. Unfortunately, we'll still be waiting for the Doomsday Clock. Sorry about that. But we'll see how we get on. All right.
And look forward to the American Carnage conversation, because it will happen. It is going to happen.
And just parents, bear in mind that will probably be a swear fest down the line. So if that happens, we'll put a PG sticker on it, all right, or a Teen Plus or something. All right.
We'll pull a sloppy spoilers. We will give you fair warning to pause the show before we get into that one.
In that case, you know what? That episode, full cast, we're going to talk American Carnage. We'll do it. We'll get all the issues together. We'll go across the whole board. We'll give you We'll give you the story so far, and then just gloves are off. I'm still getting fired.
Oh, no. You won't be fired. I won't be fired. The audio guy may be a little pissed off at that episode for all the, censoring, all the bleeping he's going to have to put into it.
Hey, well, Freyja hates a good censoring of swear words. So, hey, if it's good enough for Freyja, it's good enough for us.
Good point.
All right. So, thanks, Josh, one more time. Really appreciate hanging out.
Yeah, always.
Excellent. So don't forget to check out UCPN for all your favorite podcasts, including TDC2, the No Price Podcast, Flipside Focus, and of course, a new episode of Outside the Panels. All right.
Ooh, yeah.
See you later, guys. Bye.